I'm originally from Ireland. I moved here about 4.5 years ago. I spent, since I was 16, 17, coming back and forth between here, New York, Boston, Rhode Island, coming back and forth to DJ. I had several residencies over in Ireland and in the UK that I was doing weekly, monthly, whatever, and a couple of radio shows over there. Coming over here was a brand new start. I've been down with hip hop now for 25 years, a long ass time. And right now I'm spinning on Saturdays at up at B89 on the Underground Railroad, and the first Sunday every month on Blazing, digging in the crates, doing classic and old school hip hop, stuff like that.
So we've been talking about like race and hip hop. And I was wondering, you know, you like me, you know, we're white DJs DJing black music. And when in your career has there been has race been an issue, or when, or I mean, where have you seen something?
Well, basically, I'll stand to him before we got here. Back when I started DJing in Ireland, it was 99.99% everyone there was white. There wasn't really a hip-hop scene. There was one store that got the occasional import in. You had to be on time to get it, or the other guy who really liked hip-hop would come and snatch it from you. So, you know, there was a very, very small scene and almost exclusively white people. It was very supportive, you know, because it was so small, everyone knew each other. Where I was at, Northern Ireland is a very small country anyway, so it was very easy to keep in touch with people. You know, you drive 2 hours, you're at the other side of the country, you know what I'm saying? So it's easy to keep in touch with the DJ in another city, you know, trading tapes, trading records, trading, you know, CDs when they came out, stuff like that. But the crowd who was listening to hip hop, who was really trying to grab it and listen to it and make it sing, was white. There wasn't really a lot of black people. And, you know, I don't know how many of y'all are aware of like the history of Ireland and the kind of religious conflict right there. It draws a lot of parallels to the civil rights over here in the 60s between black and white, only over there was Catholic and Protestant. So we had our own set of issues, which really meant that a lot of people of color, whether they be black, Chinese, Indian, whatever, didn't really want to come there. You know, we were kind of off limits. It was already pretty dangerous to go there, you know. So that meant that the hip hop scene was white. And it was, like I said, it was very supportive. Anytime I came over here, that's when the fun started, because it was, you know, first of all, I mean, a lot of my accent is gone now. But when I first started coming over here, you know, I had a pretty thick brogue, which is worn off over time. But, you know, first of all, you're coming over, a lot of people can't understand what you're saying. You got to get over that barrier. Then you got to get over this color right here, you know. And, you know, in 86, 87, 88, you know, when hip-hop was really, especially like 88, 89, when Public Enemy were at their height, when NWA were really coming out hard. And there was a lot of focus on hip-hop back then, on conscious hip-hop, and pushing like a pro-black message, which I love. I mean, Public Enemy is my favorite group to this day. I will cop a CD of Chuck D reading the phone book. You know, I will support anything that man does. You know what I'm saying? I love the man to death. But then coming over here, it was, you know, on a bigger scale than I'd ever seen. And to be honest, I wasn't used to it. You know, I'd heard it on wax, black, white. I'd seen it on TV. I'd seen a little bit myself, but when you get over and you're in the middle of it, and you're going to a radio station where everyone else in there is black, and they're looking at you because they don't understand you, and, you know, what the hell do you know about hip-hop? And, you know, we're listening to Nice and Smooth. You don't even know who the hell that is. And then you start reciting the lyrics to them, and you see, like, the light bulb going over their head, like, damn, this cat might know what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying? You know, coming over here was really, it was a battle. And every time you came over, you had to prove yourself. You had to prove your knowledge. You had to prove that, you know, you had skills. You had to prove that, you know, you knew what you were talking about. And I didn't see that kind of approach from black people towards other black people. You know, it could have been because I was new. I'm sure some of it was, but I know a lot of it was because it was white. You know, when NWA came out and you had that whole issue of inner city life in Compton and the way police were brutalizing black males and stuff, that was, in a way, something that cats in my side of the world could relate to. Because, you know, you have the famous kind of acronym over here, DWB, driving while black. Over there you got driving while Catholic or driving while Protestant. Depending on what side of town you're on, you will get messed with by the police. Or, you know, on other occasions, just like kind of similar to the gang situation over here in Compton that NWA was speaking about, that Ice-T and King T were speaking about. Where if you're on the wrong side of town, on your own, or, you know, the other side happens to find out that you're not of their religion, you're in a lot of trouble. Like, to the point where, you know, we had a huge murder rate simply built around religion. Like, you're talking 2,000–3,000 people getting murdered every year because they go to a different church. And when you look back at it now, it's just super retarded. It's really, really important in hip-hop that, you know, the racial element isn't overlooked. It was very important. It formed this music. And I think now in the days of this music being watered down a certain bit, you know, worth a lot of money, you know, people are more interested in kind of the materialistic aspect of it, and a lot of people don't know their history and what caused this music to turn out the way it did, and what events happened in the background that made some lyrics turn out the way they did, which influenced other cats to spit their lyrics the way they did, you know. And it's really important for you guys, you know, and a lot of you younger cats who are coming up, to go back and read up on history and see how important the formative years of hip-hop were, and how race affected that, and how hip-hop affected the racial aspect. I mean, they're both incredibly interlinked.
From like Northern Ireland, like your first like live hip hop show that you like experienced, whether it was like anything like over in Europe or in the States, like what did that mean to you? Like how, like what was the vibe like?
It was weird. It was the Beastie Boys in 1988 in Liverpool, and there was like 2 black people in the crowd, and they were holding white people back because they were doing security. It was a whole white crowd. And the show got shut down after 25 minutes because they had a giant inflatable penis on the stage. They had girls, and like topless girls in cages, and you know, they did like 2 cuts, and then they started throwing Budweiser cans up in the air and baseball batting them out into the crowd, and the lights came on and they shut the show down. And then, you know, they were, you know, hip-hop back then is, you know, was still, no one knew what it was really about. The media, I'm talking about mainstream media. And so you had the newspapers jumping on the next day like, kick these bastards out. You know, who are these assholes? What is this music they're bringing? Why are they drunk? And why they got a big penis on stage? And all kinds of crazy stuff. But it was all over the newspapers, you know, and all it did was push their sales. You know what I mean? But it was the Beasties, you know what I mean?
Same thing about how, I think if you're older or old enough to remember how hip-hop was when it was pretty much authentic before it became watered down, you wouldn't consider yourself blessed. And when you're talking to other people out there, and you're like, well, I can't bump Lil Wayne like that, and I can't listen to Jesus like that. Look at us like we're funny, but it's like once you experience the real deal, it's hard for you to go for something that's less than. It's like you look at something that's like Big L, Tupac, Run DMC.
Right.
Everybody else is up here. All the new people, they're like, damn, because it's like, if it weren't for them, they wouldn't be the same.
I think it's part of your upbringing, like where you were, like certain types of music and songs define, you know, where you were. I mean, the first time you got drunk, the first time you had sex, or whatever song was playing on the radio, that's always going to be in your head, you know what I'm saying? So for me coming up, I mean, it was EPMD, Run DMC. I ain't mad at these cats right now who think Lil Wayne is the greatest thing ever, because they don't know anything different.
Yeah.
That's their base, you know what I mean? To them, they're not old enough to understand what all this came from, you know what I mean? It's getting to the point where educating them to look backward, it's only certain people will do that.